Hello and welcome to Karen's Creative Cards on YouTube. I am Karen Hashik, and in this video I am sharing two cards I made with dies from the new spring release at KarenBurniston.com. As always with Karen's dies, they create a wonderful surprise for the recipient when the card is opened. So this is the first card, and when you open it, it pops up and reveals a wonderful surprise inside. My youngest grandson adores trucks of all kinds and knows the difference between a dump truck or a bulldozer and others at just 2 years of age. So when I saw this set of dies from Spellbinders, it's called Go Ahead, Move Those Mountains Die Delights, and it has 3 different kinds of like dump trucks and bulldozers. I just had to get them and make a card for him. The best part is when the 3 different colorful trucks pop up every time the card is opened. One thing I learned is, this is the first card I made, you don't want whatever elements are in the squares to be sticking out too far from the square itself. I have to keep maneuvering that so it doesn't get all bent, but I don't think Evan will mind. And I think it probably will get bent the first few times he does it anyway. This pop-up is created using a new die set from Karen Burniston called the Upsy Daisy Pop Up. So I'm going to be using this die set in both cards that I'm making today. I created a very colorful background and die cut the 3 trucks out of pieces of watercolor paper that I created with the fingernail polish technique. Now I'm not going to show you how that is done because it's very smelly and messy, but it's still fun and it creates very bright colored sheets to use for backgrounds or die cutting. You could check YouTube for videos, but basically you pour a few colors of nail polish into a tub of water, lay the pieces of watercolor paper in them, and then pull them up and let them dry. It's that easy. And I went to the dollar store and got some purples and bright pinks and greens, colors that, well, I don't put on my nails anyway. It was really fun to do, but again, I suggest you do it outside or in a very ventilated area. I die cut the letters from using Karen Burniston's new alphabet die set. I'm really liking this set. It's nice and chunky, but a really nice size too. It's not too big and it's not too small. And I cut vroom, so vroom vroom, out of the front and did the eclipse technique with them. So I raised them up on foam tape and then put them back in the holes that were created. I also cut one of the bulldozers and I raised that up on foam tape, and so that's a great dimension on the front. The inside is the best part. Evan's name was cut with that same alphabet set and another room out of the colorful fingernail polish paper, and then I cut the 3 trucks out of the same fingernail polish paper. As I said, I learned you don't want to have any pieces sticking out here. I mean, if I maneuver it, it's not going to get wrinkled, but otherwise it will. I also learned that I probably should have used baker's twine. I used a product that I have from years ago called Scrapper's Floss, and while that was very easy to weave in and out, as Karen shows us how to do, it didn't tie real well and it was rather stiff. So if I do this again with the 3 things being tied together, which again is how Karen shows in her video, I would probably use baker's twine. But I know Evan is going to love this card from Grandma. This is the card. I don't want to hold together now. This is the card that I'm going to make with you today. I make Christmas and holiday cards all year round for my classes, and so that I'm not in a panic come December. I love the front of this card, and I'm going to show you the steps to achieve this glittery, peaceful water sunset. But as always, when you make a card with Karen's dies, the best part is when the inside is opened and the elements pop up for display. So this is how it looks from the top. And then this is how I have to show you so you can see. And I watched Karen's videos and I followed her instructions as to how to tie the center pop piece to the other ones on my first card. But on this one I decided to try something different and use a piece of acetate to hold the center joy circle so there's no tying necessary. So if you can see, I used a piece of acetate, and I'm going to show you how I did that, from that apparatus to the center, and it was very easy to do, and you have this kind of floating image on the inside and the two squares on the outside. And here are the supplies I used to make this card. So once again, I did use the Upsy Daisy Pop Up die from Karen Burniston's spring release. I used a stamp sentiment from Hero Art Stamp and Cuts. So it has some stamps that go with the word joy. The joy that I did use, and the piece is from Elizabeth Crafts Designs Love, Joy, and Peace Christmas Ornament by Suzanne Cannon. I used the stitched circle die set from Memory Box. I used the Callum stitched snowflake from Poppy Stamps, and so most of those are on here. This is also a Memory Box stitched snowflake, and this was from another set, and the circle is from Tonic Studios. I don't know if you can notice the theme here, but stitched, stitched front. I just think that when you add the stitching and other, it just makes it so much more interesting. So almost everything I buy nowadays has that on there. Now I have, oops, I have to show you something else I'm going to use, which I'm going to later. I'm going to use 3 colors of distressed oxides, and I'm using some sponges. Blending sponges from Nuvo. They're my new favorites. They have a nice place for your hand. You can have a pointed tip if you want, or the nice sponging ends on those. And I'm using Nuvo Clearmark embossing pad, but you could use Versamark, and a glittery embossing powder from Nuvo also, and that will be making the front of the card. These pieces are, I'm starting with an A2 top folding card, and then I have a dark blue layer of 5 1/4 by 4, and then a white layer that is 5 by 3 3/4, and I've cut the Memory Box stitched circle trees out of that. I also have done the other die cutting that we need to have done. We have a glittery piece. We have the 2 square stitched snowflake elements for the inside of the card, as well as a circle one that says peace and joy. I figure you don't need to watch me do all that cutting and gluing. These videos can get long enough as it is. This is the main apparatus that is going to pop up, and as I said and do recommend in every one of my videos that I show Karen's dies, you're going to want to watch her video, and she gives very good advice. And she suggested that we mark this triangle piece here with an M, and this little piece down here with a V. So these triangular pieces are going to be folded in mountain folds. And these pieces along the straight edge are all going to be folded in valley folds. So you stick your fingernail in and you find them. Now she did mark every one of these, but I find them very easy, so I didn't do that. So you have all of these along this line in a valley fold, and these in the mountain fold. And then you're going to put some adhesive. It can be her glue, which I use all the time too, but for these types of things I prefer my ScorTape. You're going to put a piece of ScorTape along there. And then you're going to remove the cover of that and fold this together to create a rectangular box. And then you fold it back and forth both ways. And now she suggests that you put an X on the rectangular box that's closest to this, and that's going to remind you where you want to put adhesive. And you also want to put adhesive on this fold on the where you have the M, the first triangle. Now you're going to open your card. I already attached that snowflake and did the stamping here. Again, I don't think you need to watch me do that, okay? But what she suggests doing is taking these apparatus pieces and putting it right up to the fold in the center and out to the outside edge with this part coming down. So okay, so with that triangle up to the fold, out to the edge. And then we're going to do the same on this one. Okay, and then she says to fold it on that second triangle and fold it down and put adhesive where that X is. It's a little long. So once again, we're folding it on that first triangle, and we have adhesive on both of those X's. And then we're going to remove the cover. And then fold the top down to those two pieces. And then when you open it up, your pop-up apparatus is complete. So the first time you try that, you know, it's not as easy as the second and the third, but again, if you watch her video or stop mine and then follow along, it's really not hard at all to do. Now we're also going to put adhesive on these two things that are popping out there. And again, you can use her glue or you can use whatever you like, but when I'm making these types of cards, I prefer my ScorTape. I'll leave it on for now. Okay, so what we're going to be attaching with those two are these outer squares. I've created them with a sparkly blue paper and that Poppy Stamps, and I see a little thing I have to get rid of. Poppy Stamps die. And then what I did, because I wanted that center piece to kind of float there on the acetate, I cut a piece of acetate and attached it with that ScorTape, and then I've put a couple pieces here preparing to add the circle. And what Karen suggests to do is to lay these down so that they are even with each other and they're inside the card, so you know that they're not going to pop way out where you don't want them. And then I'm going to fold this down and make sure they're going to attach. And then I'm going to remove this acetate, or this tape cover. Okay, so having them straight across from each other inside the card, and then I'm going to fold down and pick them up with that tape, and there you go. It's that simple. See? They're going to pop up nicely. When you close the card, they're mostly inside the card. There's a little bit sticking out there, but not now. Okay. So, and then I'm going to take my And Joy and attach that to the center. And of course that die set does give you some decorative squares and other elements that you could use, but I decided to just go ahead and make a circle for the And Joy. I had a hard time when I was trying to line these three up to have them look straight if it was another square, so I made it a circle. And then it's not quite so obvious if they're not straight, you know what I mean? There we go. Isn't that fun? I just love interactive cards, and that was very easy to do. Okay, so now we're going to work on the front of the card. And this was a really fun technique that I found on Pinterest too. What I have done is I have cut a piece of white cardstock 3 3/4 by 3 1/2, and I put it underneath this opening of this pretty die, and I marked with a pencil where the edges of the die, you know, where the inside is going to show, and we're going to create like a winter sunset underneath this die. So again, I am using 3 sponges. You could use your Tim Holtz distress tools too, but I find for sponging and blending, I really like these. So I'm going to start with purple towards the top. And I have wilted violet, picked raspberry, and faded jeans. And I'm starting off the paper and getting rid of some of it, and then I'm sponging and trying to blend them. Picked raspberry, and you could use regular distress inks too. I'm finding that I like my distress oxides for blending even better. I want it to be a little brighter, but not to be a blob either. Maybe a little brighter. And then faded jeans. And then I'm going to take my Nuvo Clear Mark embossing pad, which you can see is already pretty dirty, and we're going to apply it directly to that. Again, you can use Versamark instead of this, but I like this one for that. And we're basically covering this with the stickiness of the embossing ink. And then I'm taking Nuvo glitter embossing powder, their shimmery pearl. You just want some kind of rather clear but glittery embossing powder. I always have a, what do you call those? Duster rag close by for glitter and embossing powder. And now I'm going to heat it quick and show you the glittery results. So that is a very glittery but subtle, beautiful, peaceful sunset scene. And I'm going to attach that behind the memory box circle, which is some regular tape. And then I'm going to layer that on a navy blue piece. And place that on our card front. And attach our Peace Wish cut out of glittery blue paper. And our peaceful pop-up card is complete, and I love how it turned out. So we have that beautiful glittery sunset behind our peaceful trees, and then when the recipient gets it, they open it up, and our wishing you peace and joy to you and yours this holiday season, and they can display it, and then it folds flat to mail. Thanks for watching, subscribing, and sharing, and thanks too for helping me share the joy of creativity.